Howdy, howdy. We are live on a Friday night with a brand spanking new episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, our fourth episode of the 10 season 5 episodes we're getting. And see, there's already some people in the live chat ready for us to talk about it. So I was just telling Aaron it has been a hell of a week, but we're just going to focus on Star Trek right now and distract ourselves as well as our audience. So with that being said, let's get the show started. I'm Fathery.
I'm Aaron.
And this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 306th installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek, old and new. And tonight we're talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 4, A Farewell to... I almost said the correct thing, A Farewell to Arms, but no, it is A Farewell to Farms, written by Diana Tay, directed by Lloyd. So it's a Klingon episode, which I'm always a big fan of. So looking forward to talking about that in just one moment. We do have some quick housekeeping to take care of. Per usual, I need to give a huge thank you and shout out to the wonderful people in the Tex-Trek Patreon who keep our starship flying. So thank you so very much. Starfleet Sohel, Cake is Eternal, Crazy Dutchie, Joanne Robertson, John Daw, Geek Filter, Quark Spar, Stephanie Dorantes, Matthew Averett, Braxton, Chuck A, Joel Vallis, Ben Ginium, Arthur Lamoureux, our associate producer Chris Garris, Dave Farabee, and our anonymous supporters. And we do hang out with our patrons every month during a Patreon watch party. So just want to remind people the next one we have coming up in a couple of weeks, November 23rd, Saturday, November 23rd. We're actually celebrating associate producer Chris Garris's birthday. So we're watching a movie, and that's going to be Star Trek First Contact starting at 3:30 p.m. Central on November 23rd.
You don't have time to talk about time.
Yeah, that's going to come up in there. A lot of fan favorite moments, I think. First Contact always seems to be a popular selection. So, and it's a fun crowd who shows up for those watch parties. So anyone can participate in those. If you're in the Tex-Trek Patreon, just come in as little as $2 a month. And if you can afford to be more generous, there's some additional perks as well. So check that out. We do appreciate it. And also want to remind people that next Saturday, November 15th, I'm going to be at the Creation Convention in Dallas. It's one of their Trek tours that they're doing. So if people want to see me in person, you can find me there Saturday, November 16th.
Cool.
But with that out of the way, we do have a lot to talk about in here. We have some Klingon action. We have some Migleemo action, getting some backstory on his people, on his culture, and revisiting the recurring character that they've established in the show, Ma'a, our favorite Klingon in Lower Decks, or my favorite. He's a pretty cool dude. I
as far as Klingons go, yeah.
I really like Martok on Deep Space Nine. I kind of say like Martok is kind of like one of like the best examples of a Klingon. Like he's like very like pure Klingon, but he's like not an asshole too much of the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of like...
He's also not like so focused like Worf. There's like something like he's a little bit more... He seems like he could have fun.
Yeah, and like he brings out like the best in Worf and some of their like interactions together.
That's true.
So, but Ma'a and Martok are kind of cut from the same cloth, and I like Ma'a. He's like the Martok of Lower Decks. So, um, but I'm gonna quickly recap the episode by reading the official synopsis, which doesn't really sum much up, but these synopses are funny. They crack me up. This week we got Dr. Migleemo cooks up some hot dishes while Mariner prefers hers served cold. So that's a reference. That's a Gornig in the synopsis. Got a little Wrath of Khan, the old Klingon proverb about revenge, right? Being a dish best served cold.
Oh, it's just not that. At least it is not kind of like this weird generic. Could be talking about anything, sort of like they had that a couple weeks ago. It was just like, what? The description was just so bare bones and weird.
Yeah, but basically what we got is Mariner and Boimler go to Kronos and meet the recurring Klingon Ma'a, who we saw most recently in season 4. He was on that planet Sherbal 5 that Mariner was trapped on, and he's no longer in the Defense Force. He's become a wine guy like Picard.
Or Boimler.
Yeah, he's doing the vineyard life, but they get him his command back. But it's more like that season long theme of like not staying where you don't belong. And he's like, no, like I actually don't want to be a captain in this corrupt military. I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna captain my wine truck with my brother. And while that's going on, Migleemo deals with some food critics who were in need of therapy, and so it's Migleemo doing like good therapy, which a lot of people were asking for a few seasons at this point. So, but Aaron, I'll let you give the first opening statement if you want to just share your broad thoughts on the episode before we get into the episode breakdown.
I didn't have a chance to watch it as much as I normally would. It's just been a week, Klingon show, I normally would have absorbed more, but the Klingon episodes are just not really my thing. They're not horrible, but and this one, the ones in Lower Deck seem to be more engaging and balanced. They don't feel like they're just one note stories, which is really nice. I just remember when we first started watching it, and like it started opening with the alternate opening. We're like, oh no, it's a peanut hamper episode. Like no, no. So I really enjoyed that. The story, the B plot with Migleemo kind of seemed to have, even though it didn't take up a lot of time, it seemed like it was repetitive a little bit. It was kind of the same joke 3 times.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was funny, a little bit at least. And knowing like food critics and being part of like the food area, like the food industry at one point. My roommate Davey was like super into like cooking, and we watched every single Top Chef thing, and we went and talked to the actual chefs at our restaurants. That was kind of interesting to kind of hear that all that language sort of used as a global culture, which would be just that snotty like the food critic sort of thing is great.
Yeah, like a foodie planet.
Yeah, they were funny. I mean, I like this like performatively fainting, like so. But yeah, I think if they could have beefed that up a little bit, I think. But other than that, I liked it. There's great arc. Like you said, we get to see who's the person from the first episode? Also Envoys. He was there as well.
Oh, General Kaorin.
Okay, I knew it was General something. I didn't remember. Like Boimler, I don't remember his name as well. But that was kind of cool to see him too. So it's like a little bit of a reunion of all the Klingons that we know.
Yeah,
including the voice of a Klingon we know.
That's true. Yeah, with Mary Chieffo as the Klingon girlfriend. So,
yep.
Which I like.
And that's where we get that amazing window. Oh yeah, it's the what crawled up her boob window and died from the trailer.
You know, honestly, I would kind of like to see Mary Chieffo like play that character in live action. I know she really wants to come back as L'Rell, but like, hey, if they do something in like the 24th or 25th century, she could also play this character now. So
that would be great. That's kind of fun. Yeah. So overall, good episode. It didn't jump out to me as being like the best thing ever, and it didn't suck. So, sometimes that's the hardest ones to talk about when they're just sort of like middle of the road.
Yeah, for me personally, this is my favorite episode of the season, but a big part of that is just because I am like a big sucker for the Klingon stuff. But I really liked the message of collectivism, teamwork over doing everything alone, and
Yeah.
individualism, and kind of like that theme of, again, it seems to be like a season 5 thing, but that theme of not staying in a role that you're not happy in, and being able to find that place where you do
Yeah.
truly belong. Like, Migleemo going into psychiatry, instead of
Right.
being a more food oriented profession, like the rest of his planet seems to.
Or even just not staying where you're not wanted, like just not trying to hold on to that as well. Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
like letting go and knowing when to move on to
yeah,
somewhere else is going to be better for you. And then, that even kind of ties into last week. I was thinking about this also, but like that Intrepid class ship trying to get back to its own
oh
universe.
yeah,
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like like getting to where you really belong and finding that niche where you feel at home and feel comfortable. And it
I
kind of
wonder how
makes me.
that might tie into the subspace fissures. Like, I wonder if there's
Yeah,
something related to that somehow, loops back into that theme.
it wouldn't. I know that when they were writing these episodes, they didn't know it was going to be the last season, but we do know that they have tacked on some stuff at the end. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if the show ends with Boimler? And I might be like way off, but Ma'a is kind of like a parallel to Boimler. He's like the
Right.
little dude in the lower decks who wanted to work his way up,
Yeah.
be captain. Grew up on a vineyard, all of that stuff. And he decides like he's not right in the Klingon military. He wants to do something else. What if the series ends with Boimler deciding like, you know what, like maybe Starfleet isn't for me. I'm gonna go do I have my beard grown in now, and I decide like I actually belong being this badass other thing and not like a badass Starfleet person.
I hope not, just because of a personal like. When Wesley Crusher did that, oh, I didn't want to be in Starfleet. Like, no, you did. I'm sorry. Like all of that stuff. So it's like it just happened like that 180 to be like, oh, I'm going to become one with the universe now. Which, I mean, yeah, it was cool, but it just felt so like a betrayal of all the kids that were like, oh, I'm going to be like Wesley. I guess not. So, but that to me that would be a little bit weird. But if they did it right, great.
I might be way off, but I just
No,
thought
it's
like,
interesting.
I better get that on the record now in case it does turn
Yeah.
out to be right. I can be like, aha, I said it way back on episode 4. So
The subspace fisher takes them back to the first episode and just loops. It's like a
oh, they
continuity
could do.
loop.
I didn't see like the newer episodes of Futurama, but someone told me that I guess like the last time it got uncanceled before like this latest round of new
Mhm.
episodes, but they kind of ended the show where it was like a time loop where it did like go back to
Oh,
the very beginning,
okay.
so you could like always watch it on like a constant
Yeah, continual loop.
cycle. Yeah, since I guess like they kind of undid that by uncanceling the show, maybe Lower Decks can do that, and then maybe it'll get uncanceled. Maybe that's the trick.
Then they'll have to break out of the loop somehow.
Although to be fair, I have heard people also say that like those newer episodes of Futurama and The Simpsons also, like you can tell like the voice actors sound like so much older than they used
Yeah.
to. So it's like, oh, maybe we don't need Lower Decks to go like on and on forever, but
Yeah.
maybe there is like
I
some
like the
benefits to
concept. I
ending.
think lower decks is something you can have lower deckers all the time because there's always a lower echelon
Yeah.
on a ship. So
There's always going to be someone at the bottom of the totem pole.
like maybe we'll zip forward to like the future and Boimler will be a captain and he's like they're dealing with their own, lower decks crew or something like that. It's like a flash forward, kind of like in Discovery, I guess.
Well, I see in the live audience, Jill is talking about the Migleemo backstory, getting to see his planet and stuff, and she's saying that our friend Marcelo had mentioned that Dr. Tiana needs a B plot backstory
That's true.
now, and I
Yeah.
hope that they could get because especially
That covers everybody then, right? Pretty much.
I guess
Maybe
we don't
Jack?
get too much about like Ransom, but I mean like he's
Yeah.
I mean I feel like there's not much to know about him. He'd
No,
be like
but
the
we
least
know
interesting
where he's from and like when he's talking
Yeah.
about Hawaii and all that stuff. So it's like,
human from Earth
Yeah.
who like joined Starfleet,
Yeah.
kind of like
but
the
to Anna,
majority
like
of
we don't
characters
zip
of the
about
show.
it except for the fact that her people ate betazoids at one point, and she apparently still thinks they're tasty.
But it'd be fun to get some Cation lore
Yeah.
beyond the Betazoid joke, which is kind
Then
of
this
awkward.
the scratching
but
post.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be cool.
And we can go ahead and go into our episode breakdown, starting with the very beginning. Let's talk about like all of the Ma'a stuff first, and then save Migleemo for dessert. See what I did there? But yeah, we open with Ma'a's slice of life, and like you said, Aaron, we get like the opening credit sequence like out on the farm, and it is like that slow, soft music, like when they did that with Peanut Hamper. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that we start with this guy like, oh, he's not in the military anymore. He's no
Yeah.
longer in command of a ship. What's going on?
I thought it was interesting too that we have another mom who like yells like go do this or whatever like in the and we had that with Tendy's family, so we're gonna hear like the matriarchs of the family telling the people what to do.
But the Klingon bar, the Warriors Pit, where we see Mary Chieffo is like the cool girlfriend, and
Hat
we
looks better
also
on her.
we also meet Maylor, which is a very confusing name because the worst Klingon, like the Klingon Jesus is Kalis, and like Klingon Antichrist is Molar. So it's weird to have
Okay.
a Maylor when there's like a really famous Molar.
And then there's Melora from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, that is tricky. But I like the aesthetic. It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm currently watching a lot of Star Trek Enterprise with my partner Taylor, who's watching all of Star Trek for the first time in release order, and a lot of the architecture on this planet, like the farmhouse and stuff, that looks how the Klingon structures look in Enterprise, like the 22nd century. So like this is like
Yeah.
the old stuff, before like they built up the first city, and then when we see that
Before
it's
they
all
reused that matte painting and slightly changed it from the other other times it was used.
And there's also like a lot of not as much variety as I think I would have liked. It would have been cool to see, like I would have put I don't know, some weirder foreheads in there, maybe like a Discovery Klingon or something.
Yeah,
but
that would have actually been funny.
they have like a
Well,
variety.
it'd be more
like,
fun.
Klingon
You could make a
uniforms.
joke off of what you did before. It's like, who is that? It's like, oh, like, but he's a Klingon. Yeah, we don't talk about it. Kind of like just like the reverse of what they did in no, what was it? Trials and Tribulations. Sorry.
But I liked kind of like the like showing, not telling of just like what's like Klingon farm life like, and I still don't know like what blood wine is the blood of. It's weird because they have like, looks like they're like pig farmers, like they have like all these
Yeah.
targs, but they're also like watering worms, and then I guess he's like mashing up the worms with his feet like Lucille Ball.
Maybe
stomping on the
that's the
grapes.
blood from the worms.
So here's my theory. All right, you ready for this?
Okay.
I think they use the worms as like leeches to suck blood off of the targs,
Oh,
and that like gets
okay.
some like their flavor, and then like they mash them up and make the wine.
I can see
could-
that works.
This is just me trying to tie everything together.
Let's let Mike know that. It's like, well, here we got something for you.
You're probably like, okay, weirdos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like we're yeah. I spent like 2 hours talking about a font on Star Trek with him, so it's just like I think that you're safe.
I am speaking of Taylor though. I am so excited to show her Lower Decks someday soon, because I think she'll get
Yay.
such a kick out of what you're talking about, like with the fonts, like the TNG throwback. Like she always points out like the design stuff like that. So
Oh, right, yeah.
it'll be fun like to get her like reactions of like.
And because she's
like,
been
oh,
watching them kind of all continuously, I think a lot of the Easter eggs and stuff will pop out more, even maybe.
yeah, because it'll all be like really fresh for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to getting to that. Let's move on to when Mariner and Boimler show up. We later learned that Mariner had more of a business reason to come here and talk to Ma'a, but she shows up talking about like, oh, we're just returning this ancient Klingon warrior skull dug up on some planet to the Museum of Bones or whatever. We get like that joke, what crawled in her boob window and died, that we pointed out in
Right.
the trailer. I thought that was pretty good. And then Boimler, this. How did you feel about this? Because like Boimler seemed kind of like risk adverse, like the last few. Like he didn't want to like. He was nervous about.
Well, like he says, like
skiing
you were
and-
scared about skiing. Like, yeah, like what happened?
And then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I totally want to go into this Klingon bar and get in fights with people and get beat up."
I'm either there was something that cut out and that we didn't miss. I don't think so, because Mariner points it out. I bet he's been reading something in that pad. There's probably something that the other Boimler did, and he's like, I'm going to do that now.
Chuck A in our live audience is commenting on Boimler's stash. So this is something that we have a fun time looking forward to every week. Is what will Boimler's facial hair be like this week? So we've entered his mustache phase. So I
Yes.
wonder, maybe next week he'll have like the full goat, like the full like goatee. I don't know.
Could be.
Kind of Ira Stephen Bear looking, maybe.
Or just patchy or something like that. Maybe he can't, do the full beard. I mean, if he's genetically like the other, like that close to the other Boimler, he probably should be able to.
And they had that gag, the edicts of returned favors, because
Yeah.
Ma'a had been like avoiding Mariner, like not answering the phone when she calls, and she's like, oh yeah, on Earth, we have this edict of returned favors. If I don't return a favor to you, I have to fight a bear. And then when Boimler walks
Yeah.
over and he's like in on the joke, he's like, oh yeah, she has to fight a bear, like whatever, like he picks up on it. Either
Yeah,
they had, like,
he's really like on the ball. Like if that was season 1, he'd be like, no, I don't know what that is.
But they're like such good friends now. They have such good rapport.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like like Kirk and Spock could kind of improv like that.
Yeah.
Like oh, we're just gonna play this game Fizbin. It's like
Oh right, yeah.
and like they pick up on
Or
what the other
Spock
one is
normally would be
doing.
like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like,
So I like that they've become like this good like working duo. Like these good like working friends. But Boimler being kind of the he knows all the rules. He's almost like one of these Klingon attorneys we've seen in the past. He knows like all the procedures. That is
I feel
kind of
like
like
he
the
knows that for
thing.
everything. It seems like Starfleet, Klingons, probably knows it about Orions and.
But honor-based
Tellarites.
societies tend to have there's like a lot of rules and procedures to everything. So it's the ritual of and Thurg or something like that to get Ma'a's command back. But I like when Boimler starts talking about it and Ma'a is like yelling at him.
Yeah.
And Maelor is like, oh, he's just mad because he doesn't know what you're
He
talking
doesn't actually
about.
know what that
so.
is. Yeah, exactly.
But
That
yeah,
is pretty
Boimler and
funny.
the Klingon bureaucratic minutia.
I love the people in the background in that picture too. It's like their eyes and just like the peering around, staring at them.
But we get to the Oversight Council chamber. So like the Oversight Council, that was something that they talked about in Deep Space Nine when Martok was talking about how when he tried to get into the Officers Academy as a young man and Core wouldn't let him. So this is kind of similar to that with
That's interesting.
At
least there's some continuity. That's good. This also had a little bit of like House of Quark feel to it.
Totally, because that was like Quark's thing. Is he's like, I'm not going to be able to, beat some guy in one-on-one combat in a sword fight, but if I can figure out how their rules work, I can maybe like
I can
lawyer
swindle
my
him
way
to
through
death.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we find out there is like
That's a great steel frame.
of Malor being dragged in by Mariner.
Yeah.
But when we meet the Oversight Council and they have like that General Kaorin from season 1, he didn't remember Boimler's name. He calls him like Brimbo or something like that.
Yeah, something like Bimbo, not Bimbo, Brainbow. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, it was funny.
But Boimler didn't care. He was just happy to be remembered. But yeah, we find out that like this ritual will work to get him his command back, but the guy in charge of it is going to be an asshole because he is the brother of the Klingon captain that Ma'a killed in season 3. Voiced by the same voice actor, so it's a very similar voice. I remember that Klingon captain like yelling at the Packlids when the Packlid was like we wanted to like test the bomb, but now it doesn't work anymore, and he was like so mad when he's like, "What? Like that's not how bombs work. You can only use it one time, you idiot!" Like I remember that voice so clearly in that scene because that's so hilarious. But yeah, that guy was Dorg. This guy is Barg, brother of Dorg.
What was I say? The when he talked about this puny person like beat my brother or whatever. It's like, oh, so your brother must not have been very very strong.
So your brother must have sucked if he got killed by a weakling. Yeah.
It's like, that's a good point. I kind of thought that as she was saying, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. It's that circular logic that somebody tries to get out of something and they just can't get out because they just keep digging themselves deeper.
Yeah, I don't really know why Boimler is on such a big Klingon kick all of a sudden. But
I wonder if that's something that'll be like revealed in the next episode or something. Like, oh, that's why he's doing this.
or maybe that's something like he read about from bearded Boimler's.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he was
the other
going through that pad.
Yeah, it was like brush up on your Klingonness.
Maybe
like
he has a Klingon girlfriend in
pointers.
the alternate universe or something, so he's trying to get all Klingon-y.
Oh, could be.
I can see the other Boimler doing that.
Yeah, that other Boimler, he was very like Riker-esque, so he probably does. He probably does date more. You know, he does like the Riker maneuver over chairs. He's got like the full beard grown.
He does it like in
so.
reverse. I noticed it was like the opposite direction or somehow. He like it's like, oh, okay. It's when he leaves the chair.
The reverse Riker maneuver.
Yeah, the reverse, right, for an alternate universe.
But the first test was the rite of an ending pain, which doesn't sound very fun. But you get zapped by pain sticks.
I'm still trying to figure out if how they got around this is actually how physics work or not. It's like I didn't really care, but at the same time, I'm like, wait, is that how electricity works?
They never say it's electricity. They just say it's 30,000 volts. So it could be a voltage of some different type of energy that's not electricity that we don't know about in our 21st century physics. I don't know.
It also looks like I love this like blue, yellow, red kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like the color-coded passageway through the two rows of pain sticks, but it gets progressively worse. So I like the idea of it though. The only way to survive it is you can't go it alone. You have to like team up, and it's the most Klingon thing ever because they literally have to cling on to each other. So it's like in the name, you know. But
dad joke.
But that was kind of the lesson, I guess, for Ma'a to learn is that like he can't be this individual who faces his challenges alone. He's got to do it with he's got to have a support system. He's got to do it with the people.
I like how they're all hanging on too. It's like Mariner's got her arms around what is it? Malor? No, now I can't say it.
Maylor,
the brother, Maylor. Thank you. And but she's kind of. It's like she was holding onto the tree in the last episode with Jennifer. Looks very much like that.
But he's like a big dude, and Ma'a's like a little dude. But Ma'a, I think, was always drawn to be shorter than the other Klingons around him, because I think that was also kind of a Boimler thing. Like he's like a little guy, almost kind of like runt-like. You know, he's scrappy, he's tenacious, but he's just small in frame. And then his brother is huge, so that kind of hammers in the idea of like how they're so different, you know.
Oh, what a tall drink of water. Wait, you do have water? It's like, yes, we have water. Like, that was great.
Yeah,
that would be weird to have a planet with no water.
But you know, I'm sure it happens in Star Trek. I'm sure there's like humanoid societies who just like, we just don't.
Well, I guess if you're like in an energy being in a different universe, like you don't need water.
The Enterprise episode Dawn, when Trip is stranded on a planet with a lizard man who does without the universal translator. That guy was like, he had like a canteen, but he was
enemy mine.
Yeah, it was basically enemy mine on Enterprise because they were out of ideas by that point in the Berman era until Manny Kodo came on in season 3. But he's drinking like not water. He has like a canteen of like this brown liquid that was not very appetizing. So maybe they don't have water.
TNG also had a enemy mine episode, so maybe it was just an homage to that.
Yeah, it happened a few times. You also have like Quark and Odo stranded on a planet once, and the Romulan and Geordi in the enemy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, but
it's even called enemy. That's weird.
Darmok with Picard and the Temerian. So it happens. It was actually like I remember like watching Dawn way back in season 2 of Enterprise and being like so like disappointed with that. It was like the only point in my life where I was like, do I want to like keep watching like Star Trek every week? I'm kind of like burnt. I was like so burnt out on Enterprise and like in like middle season. Those thoughts are so fresh on my mind now. Just, you know, I'm rewatching it for like the 5th or 6th time. Like I like Enterprise. I rewatch it a lot, but like first 2 seasons have some rough patches for me.
We were like, I think through the about 2/3 of the way for the first season. I remember in our art department, we just like made a what would it be a meme today? It was just like it's like everything is so boring. It's like, well, I guess we could get out the decon gel. Just like,
yeah,
it's like there's nothing happening on the show.
But I absolutely love season 4 of Enterprise. I think that's one
Oh
of
yeah.
my favorite seasons of Trek ever. So that's a fun part when I'm rewatching Enterprise. Like now, I just tell myself like, oh, I'm only 2 seasons away from season 4. So
And it's the first modern Star Trek to really start to like acknowledge the animated series as far as stuff goes too.
yeah, yeah. They just mentioned Adosians in an episode we were watching the other day, and I was like pointed that out to Taylor. I was like, oh yeah, it's like Eric's
Yeah.
from the animated series, the 3-armed guy. She's like, oh yeah, I remember him because we did watch it all in order. So it does pay off.
Yeah.
But after the ride of unending pain, they have to catch a big targ, which I guess it's kind of the same thing. They have to have 4 people on their squad, so everyone grabs a leg so they can tie
Yeah,
it
that makes
up.
sense. Yeah.
But most Klingon warriors trying to reclaim their titles or whatever are too individualistic, and maybe that's why like they don't make it through.
Oh, interesting.
But because as soon as Ma'al, like does this, that's when Dorg or Barg, whatever, yeah, Barg in this one. That's when Barg starts, adding in all. Oh, you have to like trim its nails,
Yeah.
and then you have to express the anal glands.
Just get yourself a Targ groomer. It's just busy work.
I did laugh at Malor being like, "Oh, no problem. I've expressed so many anal glands."
The Targ is actually a little kind of cute. Like it would make a good stuffed animal or something. It's like it's huge compared to all the ones we've seen.
It's weird, like how multifaceted Targs are in Klingon cultures. Like they're pets, but they're also food, but they're also like these giant beasts you fight in a big arena in front of the Klingon.
And they're also an
officials.
insult at times. When you call somebody a Targ.
It's weird for it to be like a pet and also something you eat, but I guess there's there's parts of the world where like
Oh yeah.
eating dogs is common, so I guess it's kind of like that. I mean, there are people who
I guess
today
it's kind
who
of
have,
like Salots a little bit.
yeah, but no one Vulcans like don't eat them.
No, they don't eat meat, but they have a pet, and they're also like these really scary, uber predators.
But I guess I know people here who've had like pet pigs and still eat pork, so maybe not that weird.
Yeah.
But and that is an alien society, so who the hell knows? But there's like some fun lines in here talking about like Kalis using his thorns to murder Feclor and
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, it also was when they were talking about the bar. It's like, oh, this is that bar. It's like, no, it was there. This is a chain.
Oh yeah, the Warriors Pit. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Boimler is all excited. About, oh, this is like where Martok beat up those 12 dudes, and then he's like, no, that was the Ketha Lowlands, right? That's where Martok was from. That's a different one. It's a chain. Yeah. So that gives permission to any Star Trek show going forward. You can throw in a Klingon bar called the Warriors Pit in the background.
True. A subsidiary of Quark Industries or something.
Or maybe that's his rival. Maybe that's like the competitor
that would be
brand.
Okay.
And so I want to go somewhere that has both, so I can go.
I'm starting like a story in my head now.
I want a bar hop from Quarks to the Warriors Pit.
I feel like the Warriors Pit would be more fun.
Probably better live music.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Less gambling though.
I think you'd probably get screwed over less at the pit.
Yeah, less likely to be ripped off.
Warriors Pit. Yeah. Unless somebody steals something from you, I guess that you do that at knife point.
But the final trial, Ma'a is told that he has to choose someone to sacrifice. So of course he like tries to choose himself, and then like Boimler is so like eager to do all of this stuff. Boimler's like, I'll do it, sacrifice me, and Mariner's like, no, shut up, you idiot.
No. Yeah, exactly. It also looks like he's holding a glass of, I guess would be Klingon coffee, because it doesn't look like blood wine.
Is there Klingon blood
thing.
coffee?
Oh, probably. Just add blood wine to Ractagino.
Well, they have Ractagino, so
that's what I'm saying. Like, it looks brown as opposed to like a wine or a beer.
But Boimler busts out the some more Klingon bureaucratic minutia here, where he talks about the right of forced conscription. So for whatever reason, they had a procedure that allowed them to, I guess, draft Barg to be part of Ma'a's squad, and then he could be the one chosen to be
Yeah.
sacrificed, and that leads to a pretty epic sword fight.
Yeah. I was,
Well,
yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I liked the action here, but I
Yeah.
remember thinking way back
It's
in Wage
visually, it
Douche.
was great.
Yeah, the animators did a good job. That was the thing in like Wage Douche. That episode took Ma'a's storyline so seriously that it
Yeah.
almost felt like you were watching like a serious dramatic Klingon
Hmm.
story, and they even like culminate in like this pretty well choreographed animated sword fight in that, and then I don't think this one is kind of as prolonged as that one was, but it's
No.
very much like in the same vein. I probably don't need to ever see this. I don't need to see Ma'a fight like another one of these guys. Like if they had like another
Yeah.
brother, or if like their mom shows up, or like I don't know, like someone else. Like I don't need like another relative of this family for him to battle. They kind of did
I'm
that with
also
like the
like a little
Duroses.
surprised that they like, oh, they killed him, like really killed him, and like nobody seemed to have a blink about that. I mean, I understand it's Klingon, but it's like it seems like Boimler and Mariner probably shouldn't have been involved in that.
Yeah, I guess Worf killed people
No, that's
fairly
true.
liberally, but Picard would
Yeah.
like get mad at it about him doing it. You know, Picard would like be like, "No, you can't, don't do that on my ship ever again."
Stop killing people.
I'm thinking when Worf killed Duras,
Yeah.
but when Worf kills Gowron like on Deep Space Nine, and like no one says anything to him. Maybe it's because like he killed him in like their Klingon like boardroom. Like maybe that's like the Klingon
Mm.
embassy. It's like technically like Klingon territory, like that part of the
Yeah,
station.
that probably is
So
true.
so like they didn't
I
have
like
like
that they have animated
jurisdiction.
series blood. The pink blood.
Yeah, yeah. Animated series would have approved of the Star
Yeah.
Trek Six Pink Blood, but it also helps keep the rating. Not that they would have to worry about it on streaming, but just
Right.
kind of the style of the show is
Yeah, you
to
could have used it like in, well, I don't think you could show any kind of blood in 73, but yeah.
But it's kind of like the same way like they bleep some of the curse words. It's like they could do like rated R like blood and gore on the show, but
Yeah.
like that it like I don't know, it would
I
feel
think it's
kind
more
of
fun than they bleep it and stuff. It's just like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah,
funnier.
it is. It's funner to take it like right up to the line than it is to like not. It's you can't
To go
feel
over
like
the
you're
line.
crossing the line if the
Yeah.
line doesn't exist. I hope that makes sense.
And it's also like, for the people who are really upset about the swear words and Discovery and stuff, it's like it's doing that but not doing it. So it's like I feel like that they would be more, amenable to that, unless they probably hadn't watched the show, because the same people who are upset about that, I don't feel will enjoy Lower Decks either.
Yeah, but I don't know. I see people who like it's weird. Like some people are like, "Oh, I like this show, but not this show."
Mhm.
I don't know. I like all of them. It's easy to like all of them. Like even like I was complaining about Enterprise the other, but I'm also like, yeah, but I've like watched that entire show like 5 or 6 times. Um, uh, but I guess things wrap up with Ma'a. I guess he could have had his command back if he wanted it, but he instead wants to be captain of his wine truck with his brother, and they're just gonna do their wine stuff, their winery business. At the end,
I think it's
we get
funny
the
that it's a flying truck.
yeah, it does really feel like it feels like a utility vehicle though. It feels like something like you
Yeah.
would work in. Also reminds me of Albatross, the shuttle. And speaking of the
Oh,
animated
yeah.
series,
Yeah. I can see
But
that.
like that always like I love that shuttle because it looks like I don't know, like a big dumb dump truck, but like I want to drive that around. Like it looks like a fun vehicle.
Albatross, I think I've shown it to you. Like they have like all the different iterations to get to that point, and a lot of them had like you could pull them out and like rebuild them as ships now. It would be interesting. I like that they weren't like trying to look exactly like Starfleet or something. I feel like in the second season they actually did
Oh,
pretty
they
good at
understood
that.
that better. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's kind of the issue with the starting off on the show. The first episode, there were so many ship designs that looked too Starfleet and not
Yeah.
alien enough.
Yep.
Then you get to season 2 and the ships are bonkers. But I like that one.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the first ship that was asymmetrical, but it's an early one. It's for sure the one in the final episode with Carla 5.
Joel in the live audience, who couldn't be on the show with us this week, but he's here in the chat, says that the shuttle
Sorry,
looked
Joel.
very other Star franchise.
I
Yeah,
can see
it kind
that.
of had like that. But a lot of the stuff in Star Wars, it's very it's like not. It's more personal, like the Millennium Falcon is like someone's 18-wheeler. It's not like a
Mm,
you know
yeah.
built by like this big government organization like Starfleet. It's like this commercial product to do work in. Did you have any other thoughts on Ma'a's Klingon story and Mariner and Boimler?
No, I don't think so. I'm excited to see where the whole thing with Boimler is going. Like why like you said, what is it? What caused the change in attitude aside from, you know, a pad from a different universe?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what his beard looks like next week. But we get the
And the
tidbit.
subspace fissures, that's the other thing. That was the good that we ended up learning that they are actually artificially created.
Yeah, so this is what someone is doing. I assume there will be a reveal of a big bad at the end of the season who is responsible for this. And
It's Paramount. It's a racing animated Star Trek.
yeah, maybe. Maybe that we'll escape to a universe where Prodigy and Lower Decks aren't canceled.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that whatever happens though in the season finale, which now I guess is the series finale,
Yeah.
but I'm expecting the. I said last week I think that Intrepid class ship, the little baby Voyager, the Endeavor. I think the
It's like
Endeavor will show up.
microscopic.
I bet Ma'a and Maylor show up on their wine truck. They're gonna come. They're gonna come.
Like
help
everybody
out or
comes to the
something.
rescue to something.
Yeah, kind of like at the end of season 3 when all the California class ships.
Right.
I think they
I
might
can
do
totally
something
see
like
the
that.
microscopic Intrepid like being able to do something. Go into
Yeah.
the computer system or whatever. And like it's they could call it one littler ship or something.
One littler ship. That's a very Lower Decks thing. That's kind of in the same
Yeah.
style of we'll always have Tom Paris and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I know, like, speaking of Joel, though, one thing that he mentioned when we were talking
yeah.
about what we wanted and didn't want to see in the season was he didn't want like a long season-long mystery, and I understand that. But I guess we are gonna have some kind of reveal with
Yeah.
this.
It doesn't feel as heavy-handed as or not heavy-handed. It doesn't feel as impactful on the plot line as it did last season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have like any impact at all, except
Yeah.
they'll have like one line of dialogue in every episode of like, oh, this is because of this quantum fissure or whatever. But
Right.
I last season I did get kind of repetitive after a while. It was like opening episodes with ships being destroyed, but I was like really intrigued. I was really like wanting to find out what was the cause, especially because it involved Ma'a, this cool Klingon character from Wage Dues. I was like, oh, did he die? Like, I want to know what happened to it. Like, why? Like, what is going on here? And I don't know. I don't really care that much. I'm kind of like nervous about the quantum fissure thing because like I don't really care who it is, and I'm like hoping like whatever the reveal is, it's something I like and not something.
Yeah,
I
it's like
dislike.
it's not dumb or something. That would be
Yeah.
bad because it's not like, oh well, next season we'll have something different. It'll just be like
Right.
that's it until there's a movie or whatever.
Yeah, so I do have a lot of trust in the show, though. Like, Lord X does not disappoint very often.
No.
So I think the odds are good that I'll end up liking it. But yeah, I don't know. Just it feels unnecessary. Like I would have enjoyed
Yeah.
these episodes just fine if they weren't tied together by this
Yeah.
this quantum fissure thing.
I wonder if it's. I don't think it's gonna happen. It's like it would be interesting if they got to the final episode and then they reveal that there's going to be a movie. Like they'll say, May of 2026, come back.
That would be best case scenario. But yeah, not.
Yeah.
I agree. Not likely to happen.
Kind of like the end, or they do the thing from Back to the Future or from Captain Proton, like the end with a question mark.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
But one thing I guess I should point out though, now that I think about it,
Yep.
is that Lower Decks always has really strong episodes in the back half of the season. Like typically, like the last like 2 or 3 episodes of a Lower Decks season are phenomenal. So they're really good at having like some big strong stuff to close out the seasons. I would imagine Whatever they tack on at the end to close off the series is gonna be pretty cool. So even if
Maybe we'll get an episode that is longer than normal, which would kind of like we did with Discovery, I guess. But yeah,
yeah, I would love that. I think there's been some they've hinted at something like that, so I think that's likely. But even if
I have a feeling like the last screener we get is it'll be like 2 seconds before they really want, like you have to put in 17 codes to open it. It's like,
it'll be highly protected, but that means you might have like a cool surprise at it. Cool surprise in it. And even if the space hole plot line doesn't do it for me, I bet that there's still some cool stuff to close off the show that I'm really going to appreciate. So I'm not actually like that worried, but I would love for the season to be one of the strongest or possibly like the strongest.
that'd be nice.
But the last 2 years really impressed me, so it's a tough acts to follow. But I guess that's the problem you want your show to have is like, oh, it's so great, it's hard to
how do we top ourselves?
Keep doing better and better. So, I'm still enjoying the ride. We can transition to Migleemo's B story, starting on Praxin 4.
I don't think I've seen a planet that's like so like quickly drawn. It's like it feels like it's like they went into vectors and like a vector stock of like a map. It just says map in general and the right, but I don't know. It feels like it's not finished. Anyway, sorry. Design cue thing.
We pick up these VIPs from Praxin 4 who are Cloakans. Did I say this awkward word? It's a funny word.
I think it's Cloakans, yeah.
The Cloakans, who are the same species as Dr. Migleemo. So I really liked just getting this lore on him. Like, oh, he did mention in season 4, something about his people discovered warp drive so that they could go find new cuisine in space. Which I didn't really think much of that line. I thought it was just kind of like a funny joke, but it's like, oh, this explains it. Like, this is why he has like all those food metaphors going all the way back to season 1 when we first met Dr. Migleemo. So
don't be a pineapple.
There's so much, yeah, exactly. There's so much thought in Lower Decks. Like a lot of these characters, I feel like they have names and backstories and identities that the show just reveals it whenever it gets around to it. But I feel like the creators, the creators,
they know all this stuff. Yeah,
like the Mariner middle name thing. Like her name being her real name, her full name is Beckett Mariner Freeman, which was kind of a theory that a lot of us had, but they never said it on screen until this season. So maybe this was always the plan with Migleemo. It's like, oh yeah, he's a bird man from the foodie planet.
Yep.
But yeah, these food critics, they're so extra, and their names are funny as hell. Like I can get like people being not as amused by this as maybe I'm just dumb and childish.
It's amusing. No, it's amusing, but it's like it's repetitively amusing. That's part of the problem.
It is. Yeah, I'll agree to that. It is like the same joke over and over again. But just so much of the dialogue cracks me up. Like their names, like Sir Legnog and Madam Gonald. Like, I don't know. That makes me laugh. Like those are just funny.
It sounds like it's like some names that we should know that have been like rearranged or something like that.
Are they based on if they're supposed to be like spoofs of some like actual person?
Yeah, kind of like when they did the temporal time committee in people in Deep Space Nine. It's Loxley and whatever. It's Mulder and Scully rearranged.
Right. I liked their Secret Service people escorting them around, but yeah, they're just like, so I don't know, they cracked me up, just like how they're just so extra about everything. Like you were pointing out, like the performative faint thing.
Yeah, and they're like, storm me out of here when they're holding him holding her because she's like fainted.
The food that they're served, the beef loin and mac and cheese, that looked pretty good. That was pretty appetizing.
Yeah,
right. Like a lot of Like a lot of Japanese anime, like the food looks really delicious. It'll like linger on screen for a long time. It kind of had like that effect.
I did like the people. It was like, have you ever heard of a candle?
Oh yeah, they were complaining
the overhead
about
lighting.
The lighting. Yeah. What do you think of their little food chewer tweezer?
Yeah,
things?
I'm assuming it's because they pre-chew your food, or they normally have pre-chewed food or whatever for the birds, so that it does it manually or without a person.
You know how long it would take to like eat a steak like that? Like you have to like
Yeah,
chew up like every like little bite.
yeah.
But you know,
Maybe
they
that's
were
why they only have
served
just a
some.
little bit or something. You know.
Oh yeah, they're served like these like big helpings. So yeah, maybe that's
Yeah,
like a food critic thing to do though. You only eat like a little bite. You
right.
don't eat like the whole thing.
You would think that the planet would have like people who are like slightly birds are a little bit heavier. They do seem to like to eat a lot. So
Yeah, but maybe like you know, there's like the expression like "eat like a bird,"
well,
which
oh
means like
yeah, that's true.
you don't eat
Yeah,
very much. So they just
yeah.
they're
They
very
just are.
into food, but they
Yeah,
don't eat large
they're just
portions.
very picky about the food they eat. Yeah, I like the great seating chart and stuff like the stuff in their their lore.
But I guess Dr. Migleemo like does have like some cooking skills. Like when they reject the replicated food,
Yeah,
he busts out like his own cooking. So
I
his
love Tendi
hogfish,
and Rutherford helping. That was great.
Tindy chopping the veggies was really cool with her like crazy assassin skills.
Assassin training. Yeah.
I would love to live with someone like her that because like I like to cook, but with the one of the steps that I hate is chopping. Like I have to like chop a lot of
Yeah,
vegetables because I don't
I'm
know.
good at that.
It feels like it just takes. I get impatient and it takes too long, and
Yeah,
like I'll try to like rush through it and like cut my hand or something. It's just like
I
it's
like that she's. What is that? It's something square. It looks like she's actually made them in perfect cubes somehow. That's
yeah
crazy.
celery maybe, but I
Maybe.
think she was cutting up stuff for like a stew. They're like they have
Oh
like
yeah.
a pot that's boiling in there, but the hogfish that he cooks that um
Interesting. It's got the three-eyed like look of the fish in The Simpsons. I think Joel had
yeah.
pointed that out.
Yeah, so it was like the joke in The Simpsons that their nuclear power plant had mutated the fish. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned The Simpsons earlier, but yeah, speaking of The
Yeah.
Simpsons, yeah, Joel was talking about that on the first reaction stream yesterday. Uh, but I don't know. I feel bad for Migleemo because I think like oh he's gonna do like a home cooked meal. Like this must have been like like a lot of people they have like that one meal they cook like really good like
Yeah.
I think for me like personally like I get like a lot of compliments on my jambalaya so which is cool. I feel like I'm like a Ben Cisco like oh I
That's
make a
cool.
really good jambalaya, but I feel like this would be like if someone wanted me to cook them an impressive meal, I'd be like okay I'm gonna cook I'm gonna cook a pot of jambalaya, and then if they like rejected it like this they're like no that was so
Yeah.
terrible you're actually going to prison.
That would be bad. Mine is bread. Actually, it's funny. I just heard that the show that they do called Home for the Holidays, where you have people improvising a holiday family get together, and then there's an intermission where they set up a table and then they actually bring out food and drink. So by the time you're done with the show, some of them might be drunk or something like that. So, but I normally make bread for them.
I didn't realize I've never done like wine tasting.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize like the common thing is that you have like a spit bucket that like you
Oh
like
yeah.
so you don't actually like drink too much of it.
Yep.
Well, I
You
mean
don't
like
want to be.
who the hell wants to like drink wine that like the whole like I thought like the whole point of like alcohol was that like you
Well,
wanted
I
to
think
get
that you
like
find the
buzzed
one
by
you
it,
like, and then you have an actual
and
glass
then
of
you
it at
just
some
stick with
point.
it.
Yeah.
I learned that at the creation convention I just went to in Nashville. Casey Biggs, who plays Damar, did like a wine tasting panel with Connor
Oh,
Trenier
that's
and
cool.
Cirroc Lofton and some other Star Trek
Wow.
actors. And I didn't know this, but he's like a big like wine guy, and he said that it was actually his ex-wife Roxanne Dawson from Star Trek Voyager, but her dad got him into wine, and that's why he's like a big
Huh.
wine aficionado now. So there's some Star Trek behind the scenes lore that you're getting really into the weeds when you're like, how did Casey Biggs get into wine? But
Yeah.
there you go. It's from like Balana's dad got him into wine.
That's when somebody's like, "Do you know much about Star Trek?" Too much.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely when you know too much. When you start talking about those details. But we actually see the planet. We actually go to Kawaka, the nest world of
Hmm.
the Kawakans. So I'm gonna take another shot at Star Trek Enterprise. I'm sorry, Enterprise, but just because it came up in an episode I watched with Taylor today. But Dr. Phlox, he was talking about his people on Denobula and his family and stuff. 4 seasons of that show, and we never saw Phlox's homeworld, which makes me
Yeah.
sad. I'm so glad that we get to see
This is
Migleemo, even if it's just
weird
one
looking.
shot.
Oh, I now notice what like, they went. It went by really fast. I didn't look at the screenshot, but you're showing the city right now, and there are like these floating barges, which kind of remind me a little bit of The Fifth Element.
Yeah,
Um,
they're like
and
food
they're like
trucks.
floating restaurants. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a burger place and like noodles, and
Because
I
in
can't make out the other ones.
The Fifth Element had like the Asian food
Yeah,
truck that like came to Bruce Willis's apartment, basically.
yeah, that's what these look like,
Yeah, then the
and they're birds, so that
architecture.
kind of makes sense.
Oh yeah, because you would just like fly. Can Migleemo fly? Could he like flap his
I don't
arms and
know.
like take flight? That's a good question.
Can any of these? Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they don't.
Yeah, they
There's
might
the
have like
flightless Aurelians that don't have wings at all. So
yeah. There's like like birds on Earth that like ostriches and
right,
penguins and stuff that don't fly. But the architecture is all like egg shaped, so it's
yeah,
like and it's a very avian world. Obviously,
and it looks like a bird cage. That big one, the
yeah, it's bird cages
in
and
the center.
eggs and very like vertical. But yeah, we have the manure oysters, which
Yeah.
this made me. I could also see this being like too gross for some people's sensibilities, but I laughed at this. It made me just like their reactions.
Yeah.
Where when Migleemo is like, "This tastes like shit," and then they're like, "Oh yeah, it is shit."
And I love that she has Tendy's holding a pastry bag that has the Starfleet Delta on it.
Yeah, and like Tindy's like cute smile presenting
Shit.
the shit pastry bag. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just but it all worked for me.
That was
it
funny.
made me like I was literally laughing out loud when I saw it. But this, of course, exposes the truth that the food critics have lost their sense of taste, and it was Migleemo calls it conversion disorder.
Oh, did we? Is that something that we knew about, or
I'm not really. I don't know much about
it
whatever
sounds
that
like
is.
a real thing for some reason?
But
I don't know why.
yeah, I did Google it. It is like a weird thing. It's like when you
Oh, okay.
lose a sense or an ability to do something because of some psychological reason.
Got it.
So the pressure of I guess like providing criticism made them lose their sense of taste. Like I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make too much sense now that I say it
That
out
would be
loud, but
interesting. Like
the point is that it
they
allowed
just
Migleemo.
overtasted.
It gives him a chance to shine. It gives him the
Yeah.
opportunity to be like, "Oh yeah, I cooked the mind." That's
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah. He's still very much like entrenched in his Kowalkan food culture,
Hmm.
but he's true to himself in that like he celebrates his psychiatry skills. So I like that kind of he I like he but he still has his Kowalkan identity.
Hmm. That he inflicts on everybody with the food metaphors.
But I almost put when we did our like things we want to see and what we don't want to see in the season,
Yeah.
I almost brought up Migleemo doing like some good psychiatry, and then I took
Yeah.
it off of my list because I was like, no, I don't think that's like a fair expectation to have of the show because the show is supposed to be a comedy, and it's really
Right.
hard. Like, how do you like if you have like a therapist, like it's
There's
really
been a
hard.
lot
To
of therapists on comedy stuff, though.
but don't you think it's hard to show like a therapist like doing their job well and it still being funny?
Well, that's true. Yeah, like you have
It's
like Dr.
definitely-
Katz, like from like the early
Yeah.
2000s or whatever. He, I think, did okay occasionally, but yeah, it's like that you can never be who would want to watch that? I guess that's the thing.
Right. It's definitely way easier to be funny if
Yeah.
your therapy is kind of like not super healthy or not super like working well. But Mike McMahon he would take a lot of shit about this on like online, and people would say like, why does Migleemo suck as a and Mike would say, listen, Migleemo is a great therapist, but we just don't see like those good therapy sessions because they're
I
not
think
funny.
he said that on our podcast when we were talking to him,
That might have been when he said that. So I felt like, okay, that's fair. Migleemo is a good
and
therapist.
he said that people wouldn't keep coming to him if he was a bad therapist.
Right. But yeah, so I just accepted, okay, it happens off screen. So I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not even going to ask for that. However, I got it anyways without asking. So it was like, oh, they found a way for him to do good therapy. But it's really cool. Like I'm not just saying this because like he's like a dude who like comes onto our show and like interacts with us, but like I really love how Mike McMahon is so willing to engage with the fandom, which is like kind of like a scary,
Yeah.
probably like he talks about how like starting off with before the show premiered, how people were like complaining about like, why is there an animated comedy Star Trek and stuff, but he still like engages.
I
with
would
the
have never
fandom.
said anything like that.
Yeah. But he takes criticism really well and like does like cool
Yeah.
stuff with it. Like our friend Jesse talks about this a lot, but
Yeah.
with this came up in this season with the Jennifer and Mariner as the queer relationship maybe not being handled as well, and Mike McMahon took that criticism and was like, oh okay, well I'll try that. And he did the same thing with the Migleemo stuff. He's like, oh, okay, y'all want to see Migleemo be good at therapy? Well, let's figure out a
Here we
funny way
go.
to do that. And here we go.
Yeah.
So if you don't like this subplot, blame the people who were complaining about Migleemo always sucking at therapy. You can blame them. But I like it, so I will thank those people.
Yep.
But do you have any other thoughts on the shit oysters or anything else that happened?
No, I'm just trying to. No,
It
it
cracked
wrapped
the-
up like it did. I would
wrapped up
have
the-
been interested to see the jail. I think that actually, I would have wanted to see what that was like. What is a food jail like?
Yeah, maybe like the conditions aren't that bad, except you just get like the most bland food.
Yeah, it was like they walk in, it's like, and you could see, Tendi or something like, what does it look so bad in here?
What would be the blandest food though to eat?
I'm gonna say oatmeal, but that actually everything has kind of some type of rice mash, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's all like pureed. It's like the grossest thing ever. But when I was in high school, I worked in a nursing home in the kitchen, and I always remember like the people who had to eat like a pureed food, or there'd also be people who like they couldn't have anything that was pure liquid, so they would have to have like gelatin, like water.
Oh,
and stuff.
interesting.
Like I'd have to
Okay.
mix like these powder and like their drinks to make it like gooey and not be liquidy.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, that's a rough life when you like if you just like you can't consume anything that's liquid or solid. You just live off of like mashed up gooey stuff. It's like I don't know, maybe that's their food jail. Maybe that's what they have to eat.
Yeah. I would say maybe they do something where they deaden your senses, so everything is you really don't taste anything. You could do like what is it, that nasal inhibitor or whatever that T'Pol had in Enterprise. So
Oh
she didn't
yeah,
have to smell the humans.
nasal suppressant.
Yeah, if they did something like that to their, like they would basically end up like the two people who lost their senses.
It's what a lot of people experience with COVID. They lose their sense of taste.
Yep. I almost wonder if that was like a reference to that.
Oh yeah, maybe they had like space COVID. They had the bird flu.
Oh.
But it did really crack me up that Migleemo ate some of the shit oysters too. Like that's kind of I don't know. That's kind of I feel sorry.
He's the one
for
who
him.
said
y'all-
like how bad it was.
Yeah,
Did he
y'all
know
coulda
that
let
they were going
him
to do
on
that?
it.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't. Yeah.
The greeters there present the oysters. So did Freeman coordinate this with them? Like she had to have had like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So
They're
that's kinda
oysters
cool,
with like spikes on them. I just noticed.
Yeah, I guess they wanted them to be like alien oysters and not look like an
Yeah.
Earth oyster, which is probably a good call. But Freeman going to back for Migleemo off screen is kind of cool.
Yeah. I also love the just when she's like, I wish like, why don't you go take them somewhere else until I say unless I say something completely undiplomatic. That's not what she's, but like just in the beginning where like she censored herself because she knew she was about ready to like lose it. And then when she's just stood in front, like, well, wait a damn minute. She like stands in front of like, you're not hitting my my crewman. I did appreciate that.
I liked the use of Freeman in here. Yeah, she didn't have
Yeah.
much to do, but I liked her getting fed up with the critics and.
It reminded me a little bit of Janeway in that episode where they met where the doctor became a singer. Like there's the planet that never heard music, but they're like very
yeah.
pompous. And yeah, this had a lot of like echoes of that for me.
That was when I think the doctor calls her Catherine at some point.
Yeah.
And that
She's
like
like,
really pissed her
yeah.
off.
Did she say something like, "Are we on a first name basis now?" or something like? I can't remember what she said, but her
Yeah.
reaction was great.
That was when he thought he was gonna like leave the ship and
Hmm.
like stay. He's like, oh, I don't need Voyager. I don't need you, Captain Janeway.
And then he was like the fad of the moment, and they moved on to like replicating him, basically.
Which I guess is a thing with like with music artists. You know, they kind of
Oh yeah.
no one stays on top forever. The reign of Taylor Swift will come to an end someday.
Uh, don't tell Rachel. She don't. She wouldn't want to hear that.
Well, I'm just like everything comes to an end
No,
eventually.
I know. I just being silly.
But yeah, I guess we don't have anything else to say on
Yeah.
the shit oysters.
No, I'm
Migleemo
good. I'm
doing
good
good
with
therapy.
that.
I appreciated that. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Mike McMahon, for taking that criticism and doing something funny with it. It made me laugh, anyways. But I'd be curious what other people thought about that. So please comment and let us know. But we can move on to the Gorn Egg section of the show, where we like to talk about the Easter eggs, in jokes, and continuity connections in the episode. Starting off, the Klingon vineyard visuals that we got in the opening, I think were they are very Boimler inspired, but I think they were also going for Picard season
Picard.
1 look.
Yeah.
So
Or even
that
his
was,
home, like in the episode Home, in
yeah,
the
or
in
family,
TNG.
right? Is
Family,
it family?
yeah. Wasn't there one like Home, Family? I don't know. There's like a trilogy of ones that sort of work together.
And the Klingon acid punk was a genre of music. I guess they never actually say that, but that had to be what this was. But there was a genre established way back in season
No,
2.
they said acid punk, didn't they? I thought they actually did say that at one point.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
But we see in that bar, we see a poster on the wall.
Yeah, I want to know what that is.
That was the album cover for one of the bands that Tindy was listening to.
Oh,
in
okay. That
season
is
2.
cool.
So it ties
Yeah, I was
back
joking. It's like
into,
maybe it's called Sentient Cave or something like that.
I mean, it could be like we know that that's a thing in lower decks also that Mariner
We could
talks about the
maybe
sentient cave.
somebody who knows Klingon can translate that for us. It probably has been already, actually. I'm sure Jorg has it on his Twitter feed or something.
There was another funny Klingon deep cut that I didn't catch this at first. Someone had to point this out to me.
Really?
But the experienced beige line, that's from that's something that the Klingon bikers say to each other when they're on like these hover bikes in the first.
You
city.
experience beige.
Those motorcycles that they're flying around on reminded me of Lobo, like DC
Yeah.
Comics as Lobo. And
I love
there's
that they're made out of like batless.
Oh yeah, I didn't even
scoop.
notice that. Yeah, the front of it is like two
Yeah.
batlets.
No, very
tied
Lobo.
on
Yeah,
there.
you're right.
Um,
I mean, Klingons are kind of Lobo-ish. in some
right,
ways.
right.
Or
I
vice
guess
versa.
Klingons were first.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Lobo might have had an influence on Klingons too, I guess. But yeah, he's the guy who fights Superman in the '90s Superman the Animated Series. Those are good episodes. I think it was like a 2-parter. People should check that out if you want to know more about Lobo. But the beige thing that comes from the Klingon VCR game.
I know this because we played that at Star Trek Las Vegas one year. I
I've never
figured out how
played
to do
it, but I own the board. I've owned
Oh.
it for a long time. My mom bought it at a garage sale back in the late '90s, but they didn't have the VHS tape. But I know it's all on YouTube, so I have the ability to play
Yeah.
this game.
Exactly.
I'm
That's
gonna
how
have
we
to do
did
that
it, I
at some
think.
point. But yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a lot of people on the internet have talked about it, so it's easy to find information on this. But the Star Trek interactive VCR board game, they have
A Klingon challenge.
the Galron actor Robert O'Reilly plays a Klingon, but he's not Galron because they would have had to pay
Right.
the writers to use that character. So he plays like a different Klingon, but he's on like the TNG sets and he's taking over the Enterprise. And as you're like playing the board game, like the VHS tape, it'll like give you commands. And then sometimes he'll randomly be like, you, whatever player is playing now, you experience beige. I think that means you have to draw a card that might make you
Yeah,
like have
it's like-
to like
it's-
go back a few steps or something.
It's supposed to mean like bad luck or dishonor or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I like the sticker on there. Unique collector's edition number 9,000 or 94,394. Or no, is it? Yeah. 9,400, whatever it is. It's like it's a huge number for it to be a collector's edition. Like, yeah, technically I guess everything is then.
Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. But there was a thing, like used to like everything had like a serial number.
Yeah,
on it.
94,394. That's a lot of interactive board games. If that's actually accurate.
Okay, I'm gonna go look what the serial number is on mine. It's here upstairs. I bet I can find it pretty quick.
Have that for next week.
We also get a return of General Kaorin, who we saw in season 1 in the episode Envoys. The Klingon pain stick ritual, that was very similar to the rite of ascension that we saw Worf participate in the TNG episode The Icarus Factor.
Yeah.
Mariner tells Maylor that she'll give him 1,000 Darsecs if she'll participate in these trials. Darsec is the Klingon currency that was established in the TNG episode Firstborn. Alexander goes like that Klingon festival, and he's like, "Oh, these guys say that they'll show me the mummified head of Kalis for 50 parsecs." And Worf's like, "No, they're trying to rip you off." That's also what like that Tellarite bounty hunter was using in Enterprise season 2.
That's the only race that we really haven't seen a lot of. Like having Tellarites now, kind of what they did with the Orions. It'd be nice if we could see that.
It's funny, like talking about Tellarite or talking about Star Trek Enterprise so much. Like you can tell that's really on my mind, I guess. But I'm having flashbacks to like 2001, 2002. Like I kept hoping because they gave us the Andorians, and I really wanted Tellarites on that show, and they made us wait all the way till down near the end of season 2 before we finally saw a Tellarite. But we did get there eventually. But we still have never gone to Tellar Prime, as our friend Larry Nemechek loves to point out. The only Federation founding world we've never visited.
Right, and we have whose name I cannot remember in Prodigy. That's horrible.
Jankum.
Thank you so much. We have him, but he's not really like a typical Tellarite, and he's not from there basically anymore. And so it'd be cool to see what their average culture is like, and just the whole insulting thing is fun.
If we ever get a Prodigy season 3, like 2 of the things I would most hope for would be either the Brickar homeworld or the Tellarite homeworld. I would love to go to either one. Why not do both?
Sounds good. I kind of need the Brickar thing, but that's something I'll bring up later.
The hogfish was from it was Anaran hogfish. So Anaran Prime is it's actually a Delta Quadrant.
I would say, isn't that's those people, huh?
It's the season 3 episode of Voyager called Remember, where B'Elanna gets. It's an interesting script because it was supposed to be a TNG story. And it's fun to watch that and be like, oh, I bet that line would have gone to Riker. Like that line would have gone to Data watching the episode. But like B'Elanna has like the memories of being like this girl on the planet Anara, and her lover is part of like an ethnic minority who's becomes like the victim of some serious like ethnic cleansing. And it's a pretty intense episode. I always like that's a lame title too. Remember, it's one of those like. It's like home or family.
It's forgettable.
Like, those
Remember Me. That was the one that
that's the TNG one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's the one with the ship with Chakotay and what Unforgettable. That's what it is. But it's very forgettable.
There's Unforgettable, Remember Me, and Remember. And so I need to stop this right now so I don't like link those, and then I'll have like another situation like I have with Beyond the Farthest Stars and Far Beyond the Stars. Like I always get those mixed up, and like past tense and past prologue.
Remember Me, I'm Unforgettable. All one title. Yeah, I do like the dump truck, not dump truck, but the truck thing that they have. It's very industrial, and it looks like the top has like handles or something. Like you could be like on top doing things, and
it looks like it's a working vehicle.
Yeah,
a, good design work from the people at Titmouse.
Yeah.
But I got another laugh out loud moment at the end when Maylor is putting his bones on their ship, and when he somehow gets like pinned down under the bones, he says,
Oh
"I
yeah,
can see Kalis, the first one, the original one, the one that did
not
impressions."
yeah.
Because I
The
had to like
impressions.
think about it. Like when I heard, I was like, "What is it?"
It took me a
the
few minutes.
original
Like, what is he
Kalis? And I was
talking
like,
about?
oh, he's talking about in the Savage Curtain, like that version of Kalis who impersonated. I guess it was um, uh, Surak, who the
And
father of
Abraham
Vulcan.
Lincoln too, I think, right?
He doesn't impersonate Lincoln because
Oh,
Lincoln gets shot in the back with an arrow later. So
that's on the nose.
yeah, when Kalis is like impersonating the voice, and he's like, "Help me, Kirk! Help me!
Oh yeah,
Help me, Spock!" He's like calling out to them.
and it sounded really bad. It was like,
So the Savage Curtain is I have a lot of fun. It's a not great episode of Star Trek. I mean, I love the original series, but Savage Curtain. It's one of those rough season 3 ones, but it's a bonkers episode. I think it's kind of just like the goofiness of it always
yeah.
cracks me up. That was like that's basically a Lower Decks episode. Go watch the Savage Curtain. But that's all I got for Gorn Eggs.
I'm trying to think if I had anything in there. I mean, there's like you said, just a whole lot of the feeling of it feels like a lot of episodes.
Yeah. And, like corrupt Klingons having to do some interesting legal system maneuvers, and then like getting to see like a character's home world. So yeah, a lot of traditional Star Trek trappings.
It'd be fun to have like some sort of nod to Aurelians or something like that. It's like where they put them down or something like the bird planet, just something like, I don't know.
Yeah. Just like at least like acknowledge it. Like there's like some like there's like some like they have like there's some relationship between like these different bird cultures. Just like they have like an awareness. They have like opinions of each other or something. As subtle as that. But maybe we'll have like Dr. Tiana and Taylor the Kazenti talk about some Kazenti versus Cation stuff at some point before the end of the show. I'd be curious what other people thought about this episode, though. Y'all heard us talk about it for over an hour, so please feel free to comment on YouTube or reply to my posts on socials and let us know what you thought. We might share that next week. Speaking of that, last week on YouTube, Don1 said he gave that episode the best exotic Nana hotel a 10 out of 10, so pretty high praise from him. But this kind of cracked me up. Our viewer Opinions No One Cares About said the Paramountain, if you will. So I think I'm going to start instead of calling it the Paramount Mountain, I'm going to steal that from you, Opinions. I'm going to start calling it the Paramountain.
I drew that on my poster. I was like, oh, that's the Paramount Mountain. Yeah.
That's self-explanatory though, right? If I say like the Paramountain, people will know what I'm talking about. At least
as long
Star
as
Trek
within
people.
Yeah, exactly. Like random people probably know.
Whenever I see the Paramount Mountain, I always think of Star Trek and Indiana Jones. Like if I'm watching like a different Paramount movie, like ever since I was a kid, anytime I would see that,
faded into
just Star Trek or Indiana Jones. But that was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. We'll be halfway through the final season next week. We'll be 5 of 10. So
do we have next week's episode already, or are we waiting for?
We do, but nothing after that, I don't believe. But I'm looking forward to finishing out this season. It is a bittersweet experience, but I'm hoping for a strong ending. And regardless, though, I think there's Lower Decks always saves a lot of fun stuff for the last few episodes.
Yeah.
So.
I know it probably won't happen, but I still want a Crisis Point movie. Maybe they're saving that for an actual movie.
Yeah, if they keep doing this after Section 31, if they keep doing the made for streaming movies, keep saying the next one they should do should be a Lower Decks continuation. Who knows if that'll happen, but I'm not going to stop advocating for it. But we'll see. But I'll go ahead and close out. But please tune in Thursday nights to our first reaction streams on YouTube, and then come back Friday for our live deep dive discussions. And until next time, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
Listen to the Tex-Trek podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or at tex-trek.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/tex-trek. And follow Fathery on Twitter at TXTrek. Please support us by liking our videos and subscribing to our channel on YouTube. Thank you and take care.